The story of Ceres begins with abundance. Golden fields of grain, orchards heavy with fruit. And Proserpina, her daughter, the light of spring. Flowers rose wherever she walked. But beauty never walks unseen. And abundance always draws the gaze of those who dwell in shadow. Pluto, lord of the underworld, had seen Proserpina. In the darkness of his realm, he longed for her brightness. In his heart, desire hardened into resolve. He would take her as his queen, no matter the cost. One day, Proserpina, gathering flowers in a meadow not far from Enna. The air was sweet with blossoms, the grass alive with color. She reached for a narcissus, its petals glowing white. In that instant, the ground beneath her feet shuddered. The earth cracked open in a roar, and from the chasm surged a chariot drawn by black horses. Pluto himself rose from the abyss, his eyes fixed upon her. Before she could cry out, he seized her and carried her down into the darkness. The earth closed behind them, leaving no trace but the silence of the meadow. Ceres did not hear her daughter's cry, but she felt it. A mother knows when a child is gone. She tore across the world in grief. She lit 2 torches from the flames of Mount Etna and searched the earth for 9 days and 9 nights. She wandered without food, without rest, her heart burning with despair. She asked every river, every mountain, every bird, yet no one dared tell her the truth. At last, Hecate, the goddess of thresholds, whispered what she had seen, and Sol, the sun who sees all, confirmed it. Proserpina had been taken into the underworld by Pluto. Ceres' grief turned to fury. She cast off nectar and ambrosia. She abandoned the heavens and walked among mortals, disguised as an old woman. No longer radiant, she clothed herself in the shadows of age. But her sorrow weighed heavier than her disguise. She withdrew her gifts from the earth. Fields withered. Seeds lay dormant in the soil. Trees bore no fruit. Famine spread across the world. It was not divine punishment. It was grief. And grief is merciless. Prayers rose to the heavens, sacrifices burned on the altars, but Ceres could not be moved. She swore that no green shoot would return until her daughter did. Even Jupiter, king of the gods, could not ignore it. For what is a king without people? What is a god without worshippers? He called the council of the immortals. It was decided Proserpina must be restored. Humanity itself depended on it. He sent Mercury, swift messenger, down into the shadows of the underworld. He carried the command of Jupiter. The girl was to be released. But the underworld has its own laws, and even Jupiter could not break them. Whoever eats of the food of the dead belongs to it forever. Pluto, knowing this, had placed a pomegranate in Proserpina's hand. Its skin glowed red in the shadowed halls. Whether from hunger, innocence, or persuasion, she ate 6 seeds. When Mercury came to lead her away, Pluto laid his claim. She is mine. She has tasted the food of the underworld. The message was carried back to the heavens. Ceres' grief flared into wrath once more. She declared that the world would starve before she yielded. The gods were caught in a bind. Without Proserpina, famine would consume mankind. Without mankind, there would be no offerings to the gods. Yet by the law of the dead, she could not wholly return. At last, a compromise was struck. For every seed she had eaten, Proserpina would spend 1 month in the underworld. For 6 months of the year, she would dwell with Pluto as queen of the dead. For 6 months, she would return to her mother, walking once more among the fields of light. Thus the year was divided. With her return came spring and summer blossoms, harvest, abundance. With her descent came autumn and winter silence, stillness, the earth withdrawn into mourning. The seasons themselves were bound to a mother's grief and a daughter's fate. For the Romans, Ceres was not distant. She was the bread in their hands, the seed in their fields, the guarantee that tomorrow would come. Her temple on the Aventine, shared with Liber and Libra, was sanctuary, treasury, and refuge. She was patroness of the plebeians, the common people. Bread is never neutral. Whoever controls grain controls the people. And so Ceres, goddess of harvest, became goddess of justice. Her greatest festival, the Cerealia, filled April with processions and fire. Offerings of spelt and honey were carried. Torches blazed in the night, echoes of the torches she bore in her search. Foxes with flaming brands tied to their tails ran through the Circus Maximus, symbols of purification and renewal. Not all rites were public. Some were mysteries, whispered in secrecy, echoing the descent and return of Proserpina. They taught two truths. The body depends on the earth and the soul depends on descent. Just as seeds are buried before they rise, the soul must enter darkness before renewal. But Rome did not invent this story. Long before she was Ceres, she was Demeter, the true origin, the ancient mother of grain. And the daughter whom the Romans called Proserpina was known in Greece as Persephone, also called Kore. Ceres was her reflection, a Roman copy of the older Greek goddess whose sorrow first shaped the tale. When Persephone was taken, Demeter wandered the earth in grief. She disguised herself as an old woman and in that form called herself Doso. It was under this name that she came to the city of Eleusis. By a well she sat in silence, her torches still burning. The daughters of King Celeus came to fetch water and found the old woman. She told them her name was Doso, a wanderer seeking shelter. Moved by her dignity, they brought her home to their mother, Queen Metanera. Demeter, still in disguise, was welcomed into the household. Metanera asked her to nurse her infant son, Demophan. And so the goddess became a mortal nurse, caring for the child with a love born of her grief. Each night, she anointed Demophan with ambrosia, feeding him the food of the gods. And in secret, she placed him in the fire, burning away his mortality, seeking to make him deathless. For in saving the child of another, she sought to heal the wound of her own. But one night, Metanera entered the room and saw her son in the fire. Horrified, she cried out. Demeter drew the child from the flames, her attempt undone. Then she revealed herself. No longer an old woman, she shone with divine majesty. She declared her true name and her grief. She told Metanera that Demophan would remain mortal, but she would not abandon the people of Eleusis. She promised to teach them the rites of cultivation so that grain would always return and life could endure. Thus, the city of Eleusis became sacred to her. And in time, it would be the place of her mysteries. But even in Greece, her grief could not be final. Persephone was not lost forever. Though she had tasted the fruit of the underworld, a fragile bargain was struck, part of the year with Hades, the Greek counterpart of Pluto, and part with her mother. Thus the rhythm of the seasons was born. From Demeter's sorrow came two truths: the withering of the earth in winter and the Eleusinian Mysteries, rites that promise that what descends can also return. The story of Ceres and the story of Demeter mirror one another. In both, the daughter is taken to the underworld. In both, the mother's grief withers the earth. And in both, a fragile bargain allows her return. Yet the meaning they carried was not the same. In Greece, Demeter's sorrow gave birth to the mysteries of Eleusis, rites that promised hope beyond death. In Rome, Ceres became something different. Not only the grieving mother, but the guardian of survival, justice, and the common people. The figure of the Earth Mother is not unique to Greece or Rome. In Egypt, she was mirrored by Isis, who searched for her lost husband Osiris, gathering his body piece by piece, and through her devotion brought him to life again. She was not only mother, but restorer, teacher of agriculture, and guardian of survival. In Mesopotamia, it was Inanna who descended into the underworld, stripped of power, broken and slain, before rising again. Her tale carried more violence and blood than Ceres, yet the rhythm was the same: fertility through loss, renewal through descent. In India, she was known as Annapurna, full of food. She held a bowl of grain and a ladle, the hand of nourishment itself. Not a goddess of grief, but of steady sustenance, showing that the gift of food is sacred. In the north, echoes are found too. The goddess Sif, with her golden hair imagined as fields of wheat, and Freya, who embodied fertility, love, and renewal. These were not tales of sorrow, but of beauty and abundance tied to the cycles of life. Not all Earth mothers weep. But whether through abundance or grief, the message is the same. Life is born from what is given, and life is sustained by what is lost. Philosophers of antiquity saw these myths not just as stories of grain, but as mirrors of the soul. The Pythagoreans and Platonists compared the cycle of seed and stalk to the cycle of body and soul. The wheat falls into the earth and rises again in spring, just as the soul descends into flesh and returns to its source after death. The Stoics saw in Ceres' rhythm a lesson in acceptance. The seasons turn, children leave, everything changes. To resist is to suffer. To accept is to live in harmony with nature's order. Psychology too echoes these laws. Jung wrote of the unconscious as fertile soil. What we repress or neglect still takes root. A parent's despair becomes a child's landscape. A leader's emptiness becomes the famine of a people. Even silence sows seeds. Epictetus taught that you cannot control what happens outside, only what you cultivate within. Neglect sows famine. Discipline yields abundance. Every harvest hides a paradox. The seed must break before it can live. In Ceres' grief the earth withered, and in her joy at Proserpina's return, it blossomed again. Something in us must also break for something greater to be born. Ceres is not gentle. She reminds us of the law of cycles. When we waste the soil, when we demand endless growth, famine answers, in body, in society, in soul. The ancients knew better. To eat was not only survival, it was ritual. To break bread was gratitude. To share bread was humanity. Ceres is not only goddess of grain, she is the law of return. Every winter is followed by spring. Every absence may ripen into presence. Every seed buried in darkness carries the possibility of light, and this is why her story still matters. Because beneath all our hunger, beneath all our striving, we are still asking the same question. Can life grow again after everything has been taken? Ceres answers, as she always has, yes. The wheel of the year turns, from blossom to harvest, from fading leaves to silent snow. Each season holds its beauty. Which season speaks to you? Share it below, and follow for more myths that still breathe in our world.